Works of Sri Aurobindo from the book Letters on Yoga Part 1 from the Collective Works of Sri Aurobindo Volume 28, page 140, topic the Supermind or Supramental. This is the continuation of the topic the supracosmic, the supramental, the Overmind and Nirvana. Point 6, page 140, point 6. Sri Aurobindo says it is not possible to situate Nirvana as a world or a plane, for the Nirvana push is to a withdrawal from world and world values. It is therefore a state of consciousness, or rather of superconsciousness without habitation or level. There is more than one kind of Nirvana, extinction or dissolution possible. Sri Aurobindo says, man being a mental being in a body, Manomaya Purusha, makes this attempt at retreat from the cosmos through the spiritualized mind. He cannot do otherwise, and it is this that gives it the appearance of an extinction or dissolution, Laya, Nirvana. For the extinction of the mind and all that depends on it, including the separative ego in something beyond, is the natural way, almost the indispensable way for such a withdrawal. In a more affirmative yoga, seeking transcendence but not withdrawal, there would not be this indispensability, for there would be the way already alluded to of self-exceeding or transformation of the mental being. But it is possible also to pass to that through a certain experience of nirvana, an absolute silence of mind and cessation of its activities, constructions, representations, which can be so complete that not only to the silent mind but also to the passive senses the whole world is emptied of its solidity and reality, and things appear only as unsubstantial forms without any real habitations, or else floating in something that is a nameless infinite. This infinite, or else something still beyond, is that which alone is real. An absolute calm, peace, liberation would be the resulting state. Action would continue, but no initiation or participation in it by the silent liberated consciousness. A nameless power would do all until there began the descent from above, which would transform the consciousness, making its silence and freedom a basis for a luminous knowledge, action, ananda. But such a passage would be rare. Ordinarily, a silence of the mind, a liberation of the consciousness, a renunciation of its belief in the final value or truth of the mind's imperfect representations or constructions would be enough for the higher working to be possible. 7th point. Sri Aurobindo says now about the cosmic consciousness and nirvana. Cosmic consciousness is a complex matter. To begin with, there are two sides of it. The experience of the self free, infinite, silent, inactive, one and all and beyond all, and the direct experience of the cosmic energy and its forces, workings and formations, this later experience not being complete till one has the sense of being commensurate with the universe or pervading, exceeding and containing it. Sri Aurobindo says, till then, there may be direct contacts, communications, interchanges with cosmic forces, beings, moments, but not the full unity of mind with the cosmic mind, of life with the cosmic life, of body and physical consciousness with the cosmic material energy and its substance. Again, there may be a realization of the cosmic self, which is not followed by the realization of the dynamic universal oneness. Or, on the contrary, there may be some dynamic universalizing of consciousness without experience of the free static self, omnipresent everywhere. The preoccupation with and pleasure of the greater energies that one would thus experience would stop the way to that liberation. Also, the identification or universalization may be more on one plane or level of consciousness than on another. predominantly mental or predominantly emotional through universal sympathy or love, or vital of another kind, experience of the universal life forces, or physical. But in any case, even with the full realization, the experience, it should be evident that this cosmic play would be something that one would finally feel as limited, ignorant, imperfect from its very nature. The free soul might regard it untouched and unmoved by its imperfections and vicissitudes, do some appointed work, try to help all, or be an instrument of the divine. But neither the work nor the instrumentation would be anything like the perfection or even the full light, power, bliss of the divine. This would only be gained by an ascension into the higher planes of cosmic existence or the descent into one's consciousness. And if this were not envisaged or accepted, the push to nirvana would still remain as a way of escape. The other way would be the ascent after death into these higher planes. The heavens of the religions signify, after all, nothing but such an urge to a greater, luminous, beatific divine existence. Sri Aurobindo says, but one might ask, if the higher planes or if the overmind itself were to manifest their consciousness with all that power, light, freedom and vastness, and these things were to descend into an individual consciousness here, would not that make unnecessary both the cosmic negation or the nirvanic push and the urge towards some divine transcendence? But in the result, though one might live in a union with the divine, in a luminous, wide, free consciousness, embracing the universe in itself, and be a channel of greater energies or creations, spiritual or external. Yet this world here would remain fundamentally the same. There would be a gulf of difference between the spirit within and its medium and stuff on which it acted, between the inner consciousness and the world in which it was working. The achievement, inner, subjective, individual, might be perfect, but the dynamic outcome insufficient, disparate, a mixture, not a perfect harmony of the inner and the outer, a new integral rhythm of existence here that could be called truly divine. Only a consciousness like the supramental, unconditioned and in perfect unity with its source, a truth consciousness empowered to create its own free determinations, would be able to establish some perfect harmony and rhythm of the higher hemisphere in this lowest rung of the lower hemisphere. Whether it is to do so or not depends on the significance of the evolutionary existence. It depends on whether that existence is something imperfect in its very nature and doomed to frustration, in which case either a negative way of transcendence by some kind of nirvana or a positive way of transcendence, perhaps by breaking the shining lid of overmind, Hiranmaya Patra, into what is above it, would be the final end of the soul escaping from this meaningless universe, unless, indeed, like Amitabha Buddha, one were held by compassion, or else the divine will within to continue helping and sharing the upward struggle towards the light of those here still in the darkness of the ignorance. If, on the contrary, this world is a Leela of spiritual involution and evolution, in which one power after another, up to the highest, is to appear as matter, life, and mind, have already appeared out of an apparent intermediate inconscience, then another culmination is possible. The push to nirvana, says our Lord Sri Aurobindo, the push to nirvana has two motive forces behind it. One is the sense of the imperfection, sorrow, death, suffering of this world, the original motive force of the Buddha. But for escape from these afflictions, Nirvana might not be necessary. If there are higher worlds into which we can ascend, into which one can ascend, where there is no such imperfection, sorrow or death or suffering. But this outer possibility of escape is met by the idea that these higher worlds too are transient and part of the ignorance, that one has to return here always till one overcomes the ignorance, that the reality and the cosmic existence are as truth and falsehood, opposite and incompatible. This brings in the second motive force, that of the call to the transcendence. If the transcendent is not only supracosmic but an aloof of incommunicable avyavaharyam, which one cannot reach except by a negation of all that is here, then some kind of nirvana, an absolute nirvana, even is inevitable. If, on the other hand, the divine is transcendent but not incommunicable, the call will still be there, and the soul will leave the checkered cosmic play for the beatitude of the transcendent existence. But an absolute nirvana would not be indispensable. A beatific union with the divine offers itself as a way before the seeker. This is the reason why the cosmic consciousness is not sufficient and the push away from it is so strong. It is only if the golden lid of the overmind is overpassed and opened, and the dynamic contact with the supermind and the descent of its light and power here is intended, that it can be otherwise. These are the words of our Lord Sri Aurobindo.